Good morning, everyone. If it's 11 o'clock on Mondays, it's the neutral zone. It's anything but neutral. Good morning. It's February 12th. At some point in history, February 12th was Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And then he was memorialized, and now he has a memorial in Washington. We take off a day, and it happens that it's Monday, February 12th. How amazing. But next week is President's Day, the 19th, and they're going to not give us a show. So how amazing. Here we are on Lincoln's birthday, and I have a great surprise guest. He's a surprise to you, but not to me. Scott R. Bushnell, welcome to our show.
Aloha.
Scott is one of our field correspondents. That means he goes into the field and he corresponds and brings back tidbits, or he does video and submits it and creates shows, whether he's sitting here or in the field. And he's my friend, and he's been my personal trainer, making me feel better. Scott, AlohaSwimLessons.com, is that right?
That's me, yeah.
Okay, good. I remember. See, I remember.
Yeah.
And we're now MauiNeutralZone.com. The reason I bring that up to all you on radio, we are 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. We're simulcast on Akaku Maui Community Media, Channel 55 on cable. But on the web at MauiNeutralZone.com, you can see a list of all of our shows, 160 or 70 of them, plus a search menu there that can show our old shows. So you can see the last 30 years of Maui, Jason and Ariel style. But now, here we are now, and I was going to change the name of this show to Mama Presents, but then I realized, wait, the neutral zone needs to stay as the neutral zone. It's anything but neutral. But
we can call you Mama. We can call you Mama Jason.
You can if you want. I've been Mama Jason. People have said, oh, Mama, isn't that cute? Maui Arts and Music Association created in 1991 when many of you were just children, where I thought I was a children. I actually the next year ran for mayor against some people. I didn't have anything against Linda Lingle. I just think she didn't make correct choices because they didn't involve me.
Yeah.
They isolated me and boxed me, and it was really a mistake because my green ideas got politicized because there was a Green Party. And then my friend, he became a new friend, but Pundi, who is now memorialized in stone at the Cultural Center.
Right.
But the direction of Maui was and can be better than it is. Right now, Scott, you're going to have to jump in because I'm on this role here, I think.
No, I'm enjoying the role, Jason. You know, we were going over this sustainability in the recovery effort in Lahaina.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of a shotgun approach. They've been shooting it all over the place. You brought up in your previous shows how they could warehouse the ash, the toxic parts of that aren't just burnt wood and bamboo on the site, which makes so much sense. And we always have a plethora of containers here.
And why are they moving it all these miles to then move it in triple or quadruple the volume to an even further site when, in fact, they could be handled almost in place or within proximity and done at a time and a rate when we can use it so it all makes sense? That all can be done right now.
I think, Jason, we're a little late, $1 short and a day late on this one, because I think if that were introduced from the get-go, I think it probably might have been done.
Well, it was introduced, you see. That's part of this. I like there was a little clip that I just saw. I saw it this morning. Maui's toxic controversy.
Oh, I saw that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know Jesse Wald, but when I saw it and I thought, here he has the mayor coming on and saying, yes, I'm concerned every day about getting people back on their land. You mean the one that the head of the Department of Health says has so much toxicity that we don't realize how dangerous this is, and that if we don't deal with that first, we're going to kill everybody? I mean, why is that not?
Well, what I'm finding hard, and this is what I've gotten from a few people I know that have lost homes, is well, yeah, that's one survey. I want somebody that of my hiring to go, and my insurance company says they're going to go, and they want to do a survey, and they're not letting them do that.
Well, again, you're talking about individual property.
Right.
I was just making clear that before I lose this point, the head of the Department of Health has global experience in major things all over the world. Plus, there's people with experience with toxicity and ash. You talked about 9/11 and the level of toxicity, and if you just have one toxic thing, if you have 2, 3, 4, you run into a problem where there's so much toxicity. Anyone that's going back to their land is basically sacrificing their lives and the lives of the people around them. And that's got to be clear before the mayor makes a decision to send people back to the land because he listens to his experts. Which ones are you listening to that don't realize this is toxic? If you don't bundle and move this stuff and contain it before you move it, I am hot on this because it's something this should be stopped right now. Mayor Bisson, I want you on this show. You want you on this show. Well, let's do it. There's these little things that come out that show your point of view. And in what you say, you are showing how foolish what you're doing is. And I know that you care about the people. You don't think that everyone cares about the people, but sending them into a death trap when we know it's a death trap and it is going to, I don't even have to dig deep here. Sorry to say that expression.
But Jason, all these chemicals that were there, what I have not seen a report on is the fire burns very hot. A lot of chemicals are dispersed with heat, and toxicity can be dispersed with heat. We're not being told anything about that. We're just giving one person, the Department of Health, giving an opinion.
His opinion
is it's weighted.
No. His opinion is as an individual, but his experience and the science that you're asking for, it not only is provided and was provided before decisions were made. It's clear to me that the mayor is trying to look out for everybody's well-being, but I don't believe that he understands. I really don't believe that he's been clearly made aware.
So there was no heavy. Oh yeah. Oh,
tell me about all your friends.
Yeah, I have two friends that worked in the cleanup. Actually, they went in with their rescue dogs from the Albuquerque. I was living in New Mexico then. I had two neighbors that went in to do recovery there, and both of them one is still alive, but ended up having to retire early from the fire department, and the other passed away from a strange cancer because they didn't know all the chemicals and what was going on in the trade centers. They didn't know that. There wasn't pharmaceutical, but there were a lot of different things going on in those buildings that were underreported or not reported. What I'm seeing in Lahaina is basically neighborhood communities, and when those burn to the ground, the guy who's got 12 cordless battery drills in his garage, that's bad. But we haven't.
Do you know that PVC commonly used?
Oh yeah.
When it's burned, creates a situation of a dioxin. Dioxin is
that was the big argument why they quit doing the sugarcane.
Well, but it's really a significant thing because
it is.
Dioxin is only one major toxic thing that virtually all the properties there had. There have been estimates based on the buildings of how much is accumulated. These are what they call accumulating toxins.
When those are burnt, they don't stay. They blow away.
But some of them do.
They do.
But some of them don't. And that's the reason.
We're not seeing that.
Testing takes. Well, you see.
Yeah.
Testing for dioxin is a very specialized.
Oh, it's huge.
And takes time to get the answers.
Yeah.
But also over time in different environmental catastrophes like this one.
Mm-hmm.
They have a track record to know this from the past. The things that you're asking for are being done now.
They are. The same thing happened in Paradise, California.
But are we supposed to wait until we get the result? Yeah, you're right. There were dioxins in there.
And I think
6 months ago you should have stopped. Why are you still moving it? Why are you doing this? Why? You're diluting it so it reads lower so that you can somehow substantiate that, that level wasn't that high. I don't think that's your intention, but I am clear that when you move ash and you mix twice as much or more additional dirt with it, and now you're going to have to carry all of that to another location, you're making much more. The mayor, in his little thing about what he was going to do with this ash, talked about 136 truckloads a day for 300 days, and he called it almost a year.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now if you double or triple the volume because you're temporarily moving it to a place,
right?
First of all, that doesn't have enough room to hold the triple that you just talked about.
Right.
And now you're going to move on these delicate highways that are going to be destroyed. Now take 300, make it 900 days. You're talking almost 3 years, but why did you move it at all when you could have moved it locally, boxed it up? And science is not without answers that were presented. That's my big thing is that I believe that the mayor doesn't really get the kind of advice that he needs. The EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers and FEMA, the information, if you dig down in their books, is where these things come up and where we've seen the things that were presented, but they already had their agenda and plan in place and moved on it and didn't do things.
What is their agenda?
Their agenda is to be safe and to impact the least number of people while honoring the people that live there and want to get them back on their
Well, that's
property.
that's a noble thing, yes.
And I would say that that's absolutely...
Logistically speaking, they're trying to do that.
But would you let people back to something if you understood that just having them go back on that land, cleared partially by your measure that was supposed to get them back sooner,
so
going to kill them?
I think the argument that they're using in this case is, well, if two of your neighbors' homes burn down, does that mean you can't live next door?
Well, again, if you...
See,
again,
we're talking. This is
that you just said.
Yeah.
Because, and I understand it.
Yeah.
There's so much media. How do you know which media is the one to listen to?
Well, we don't listen. We should listen to the real scientists.
Well, again,
both sides. No, there's more that scientists are political. That's what we've really come to understand in the last 10 years.
But we also know that the truth is the truth, and science is science. Maybe you think that we can get everything to read the way we want it to read for a different purpose, and that may be the political you're talking about.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to 9/11, that was how many years ago? 23 years ago?
That's amazing. It's crazy.
23 years ago. So,
and they're still dialing that in.
And they're still having people sick, and they dial in the why, and they come back to the why.
Yeah.
Why? Because of what came off that fire and what was left there and how they handled it. They call super funds. You know what super funds means? It means they spend a super amount
of
funds
money
to bundle these things so millions and millions of people won't die. That's in places on the mainland, including 9/11. So are we creating another thing here like that? In a sacred... Some people said, oh, yes, I love when the mayor says, look, we talked to this group, and they said that this is cleared as a Hawaiian site, and we spoke to this group, and they say it's cleared as an environmental site. Excuse me, let me see your science, big talkers. You may think that because you were the chief judge and chief prosecutor, that you're above the law. You sound like Donald Trump. But I know that there are those that are going to say, you killed my son, my daughter. Back in Linda Lingle's day, when they were taking dirt and moving it from one place to another, dirt, land, soil was moved into the parks, and one of those guys had kids. Ralph Natal of Campaign Recycle Maui had a child that got cancer, another rare cancer. And again, they follow it back to soil that was put in there by the county. So someone's going to catch this wind. And our mayor is going to be saying, oh, I did what was best for everyone.
And he's weighing everything, Jason. I would hate to be in his seat.
So would I, but I would stop everything right now because...
And they would be lynching you. They'd be lynching you somewhere, those people that want to get back on their properties.
Well, again, I don't think...
There's a balance there.
Well, again, I agree with you. But if you knew that the people that were trying to lynch you, if you could show them that going back on their property would kill them and all their people, you think they might address it differently?
You would have to make such an incredible argument. Why is no one making this argument?
Well, that's
why
not true.
Department
that
of Health?
True.
No,
see that?
Yeah.
Again, I love when you say this because you say nobody has. Don't you love that? Are you stepping into my pool?
I'm loading the question for you, Jason. You know
I don't have to be the expert because the experts were here. And Akaku put out a 5-hour place for a Zoom to be held by the People's Council of Maui, Olowalu branch, it seemed. And they were talking about the cultural importance for them. And then they talked about all kinds of things. Then they brought the scientists on. And they didn't bring one scientist or two or three or four. The Department of Health guy, he was swallowed up at the beginning. What he said, by the time you get to the scientists, you're like, well, why are we not doing these things that are cheaper, that make sense? Why? Mayor Bisson, you're welcome to the show. This is a call-in talk show, although I have to figure out where everything's going to light up when you guys call. 808, it's right on the screen to who's watching on TV. 808-873-3435. That's always the call-in here at Akaku. Excuse me, no. KAKU, 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui.
The voice.
You know, by the way, did you hear that little spot talking about Kokomo? It is clear that AI, artificial intelligence, is being used, and they're using voices. But when you call about Lahaina and Kokomo, you know, and I know, that we're replacing people with artificial. What are we going to do with all these people? Maybe get them to do the research and share that research with people they love. I mean, at the airport, every time I use the check-in that says, oh, check in here at this machine, you don't want to go to those people. I wonder why the people are standing there saying, oh, yeah, use the machine. Keep using the machine. Soon you won't see me, and you won't have me pointing to the machine. Kaiser, you go into Kaiser. Oh, look at these machines. I like those because if I'm late, I can go right to the machine. That's awesome. What are we going to do with these people? We're replacing our people with machines.
Well, and the scary part is I called into, oh, Lord, it's one of my healthcare people, and it was referred to automated AI, whatever it says. I thought I was talking to a person. Holy crap, they're good.
Yes.
It sounds real.
By the way, holy
And
crap is
inflection.
as far as you can go on your
Yeah, it was like
vocabulary
real.
stretch today.
I know I'm not on Joe Rogan. Okay, we're there.
Oh, that's right. Now, there's a guy I would like sitting here, or maybe we
You know,
should
he has a love of the islands, I'll tell you. He really does.
Yeah, well, what would he say?
Well, you know, he actually talked on his show.
People.
Well, he actually talked on his show the other day about our overpopulation of deer and pigs on the island. He actually brought that up in one of his podcasts about 2 weeks ago.
You think if those deer or pigs eat some of this toxic ash, that won't translate into a problem? It is, right?
Jason, it's just you hear scientists on both sides, but we've only gotten government appointed.
I love that.
Well, we've got government appointed scientists. I would like for the people of Hawaii that aren't part of the government to hire their own people and get an objective thing here.
If you watch Akaku, you will see a 5-hour show.
Yo,
I keep telling them it's too long, and I'm going to take pieces and try to spotlight, because I'm not talking about things that I make up. You asked for scientists that were hired by people in Hawaii. I'll give you a specific example, may I?
Yes.
There's a farmer named Eddie Garcia.
Yes, Eddie.
You know Eddie?
I know the name, yeah.
Okay, Eddie Garcia owns the farm. It may be the same one that Dale Gardner owned, right there at the bottom of Laniapoco.
Right.
Right above there is where we're talking about all this waste and all the water coming down. So Eddie spent $40,000, him and group, and got information from all kinds of places. The EPA, all kinds of experts, Clean Harbors, all kinds of people in Oregon and Washington. And you know what? They're on this thing. You can see and listen to them. And their reports were already in the hands of the council, of the mayor, before. Now, they had a public meeting. Did they bring it up at the public meeting? Well, Gabe Johnson talked about bioremediation. Yeah. And the mayor, my experts tell me that after we move the ash, that's when we do bioremediation. Oh, so that means after 300 days, after almost a year, you're going to do that instead of doing bioremediation. Mayor, you are not talking right. You're not talking science. Never mind the fact that there's a hole in your argument. Right now, I tried to find an environmental lawyer through the Hawaii State Bar. They gave me one name. I called, left a message. The message comes back that they can't be my attorney. And then I realized why. Because he represents them. That's the only name they have, environmental referrals from the state bar.
There you go.
So when you say,
there lies the problem.
Maybe there you go.
There you go.
So here we go. Look how we're trying to.
Yeah.
So in trying to defend the powers that be don't have the resources. And then when things are put out to them, they don't make it their priority to view it, check to see if it's real. They've been invited to go see these facilities in different places across the country. So But why haven't they done that? Because their Department of Remediation and Recovery, you created a whole department, you're paying all kinds of people. Really great work.
Well,
Mayor, you have to really realize there are going to be loudmouths like me who have nothing to lose. That have nothing to lose. Why? Because I've been talking about what's not been happening here since I got here in '88.
But Jason, let's go back a ways. Let's go back to when Pioneer closed the doors.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
What Pioneer? You mean
Pioneer Sugar in
Daniel
Lahaina.
Boone? Oh,
Pioneer Sugar in Lahaina.
When was that, roughly?
1999.
Okay.
Okay. A grandfather fellow that I had met when I was running Lahaina Family Farms.
He was already a grandfather?
He was a very old man.
Okay.
And he was telling me a story, and he says, you've got to maintain all the water bars above Lahaina to make sure the water gets saturated into the ground. Same problem that's happening in Kihei right now. We're getting water because all the water bars have not been maintained. The water saturation, ground saturation would have happened. Everything would have stayed greener. So for 24 years, we set ourselves up for, one, mass runoff, two, when math water isn't held in the ground by the water bars and the check bars and everything else that Pioneer was keeping in place, Baldwin was keeping in place, water's flying off the hills and blowing out mud. What else is going on when that water doesn't get held? Ground gets dry, water gets dry. All of a sudden now the ground and all the fire danger is going through the roof because we haven't done what Pioneer learned 100 years ago when they lost Lahaina, is we've got to make control.
100 years ago they lost Lahaina in a fire?
Yes, that's why the church, the Catholic Church in Lahaina was built.
Maria Lanakila.
The Likea was built so that it wouldn't burn. Because they'd burn it before.
That's a good reason it didn't burn.
Yeah, they knew. They knew back then they needed to build it in case they had another bad cane fire that would take out the entire place. So somebody learned, but everybody forgot. Okay, we don't have cane. Everything goes feral. You know those big rock piles? Those used to be nice lines to make sure the water would slowly come off the hill when we do get good water. That hasn't happened since before 1999 because sugar was going broke. Same thing with Baldwin. They used to, above the hills, above Kihei, and above everywhere on Waialea side, they used to have that ditched and trenched so the water had time to soak in and the ground and our groundwater was taken care of. Lahaina fire was just a tragedy that was coming, that we were lining up for. We were ignoring it.
So, besides being an additional issue, I hope that the county and the state have unlimited pockets, unless we're not allowed to sue them. But how many ways can you spell no one's taking care of the issues? That's out of control, non-responsibility, or no one in that department that knew that? How could that be, Scott?
Because Baldwin took care of it.
But I mean,
Pioneer took care of it, and when they left the land, and they said, "Oh, great, we're not going to be burning cane fields. It's going to be wonderful." Nobody's going like, "Well, what were they doing up there besides burning cane fields?" They were aggregating and making sure that they had water bars all the way across. If you look at any ancient site where they terraced the ground, that was to catch the water when we do get water. Pioneer was doing that. Baldwin was doing that. C&H has done it. They make sure that when we do get rains, they get the maximum saturation. And everybody was, since there was no money being made off the land, nobody was doing it. This isn't something you just do for fun. This is something they did to make sure that they had good saturation and good cane and good product, especially for pineapple. I mean, you used to look at the pineapples above Dr. Fleming's place out towards Hanakwai. Those were just beautiful terrace fields going up there. And they had bars, and when you drove up the road, I used to run up there back in the 80s, and you'd run and you go over big berms because they had those berms to catch the rainfall when it came.
I remember walking up those berms. That was on my walking path years ago.
Yeah.
It was really
beautiful, dusty, red, beautiful dirt. But you'd run up there and you go, whoa, going over one, then you go over another up the hill and you go over another because they made those to catch the water. That's to catch the groundwater.
How come they don't hire sophisticated, knowledgeable people like yourself?
Because you need a friggin' dirtbag farmer to figure out what they've known how to do.
Yeah, but nobody's
millennia.
listening to them dirtbag farmers.
Yeah.
How many dirtbag farmers spent $40,000 putting together a report for public consumption?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I
that
know.
gets not viewed.
Right.
That gets told that the information they have is bogus and not real science. So all you people that keep evaluating that these people aren't real, these people have had practical experience in the field for 20 years and more. You know, when I was young, by the way, this was a little bit severe. I
didn't recognize Jason when I came in today. I was like, oh, God, Jay, you all right? You been in the hospital? His beard's gone.
My beard is gone. I was using a razor. It said it had 13 different clips.
Oh,
so
my.
I said, oh, that means I can do my hair all the way down to the beard. So I tried one about a third up. I don't know what to do with the other ones. I think they probably rip your skin off at the same time as shape, because this is what came out from 3 up from the bottom. That's like, wait a minute, this looks pretty short.
There you go.
And then I
I just figured you were at the Super Bowl and you wanted to, get dressed up.
Oh, that's right. I was like Jason Kelsey.
There you go,
Take my shirt off, and he was doing all kinds of stuff.
Oh, Lord.
That was yesterday, February 11th. That was an exciting game.
That was fun.
I know. I always like to say to people, they always love it. I hope that the team that you love wins the Super Bowl. Man, what a fun game! Everyone should.
It was. I honestly, I'm not a big. I follow hockey, follow the Portland Trailblazers. I follow some G League teams to watch the guys coming through the ranks. But G League, man, yeah,
That means A, B, C, D, G?
No, it's just a league below the NBA.
Oh.
Yeah.
And why they G League?
Yeah, I don't know why they call it G. I think it's growth league, so they're growing.
Oh, okay.
They're growing. They water them well and make the guys grow up to 8 feet.
And they have water. What do you call them? Water berms?
Well, check dams, water berms. So if water falls on the side of a plane, and it's going to slide right to the bottom. If you can make it go this way or that way or this way, back and forth, it grabs saturation, or check dams, they call them. So after big fires, in knowing that, I was a wildland firefighter, and my property in New Mexico on the Valdez Caldera, there was a huge fire. It almost took out Los Alamos, New Mexico. Like hundreds of homes were lost. Excuse me. After that, Department of State Lands, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Los Alamos National Laboratory brought in restoration people to make sure that since there's no longer timber, there's no longer grass on it, they wanted to do that kind of restoration. That is commonplace, boilerplate, what you do after a fire. If you change farmland to feral land and it's where you have high runoff areas, they normally do that. Somehow we kind of dropped the ball because everybody was so excited that they weren't going to be burning cane fields that we didn't realize what else that Baldwin and Pioneer and CNH were doing on the lands up there.
Does it matter who we is?
I'm part of that. I mean, I've been here.
Is it the water department that should know that? Should the people that sold it should the sugar people say, look, when you buy this land, you better be aware it's going to be a tinderbox if you don't do this, 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 and this.
That gentleman that bought the freezers off the farm that day, who knew that Brother Tim's farm that he bought was Rock Ranch, and said, Scott, if you're taking care of the farm up here, you need to watch the fire danger. You're at the top of Lani Poco. If something catches fire up here, you're going to be responsible for the entire, because nobody's doing what we used to do. And this was really, I love it when people that lived here generationally talk. And he was telling me about, hey, Scott, I went to meetings. I told them, and I would go to these water meetings because I was going to water meetings because that's when the Free Waters Act came in, and they were not allowing a lot of the real agriculture up above Lani Poco to draw off the creeks. He says, we've got to do that. We've got to catch all the water. If you live on the other side of the island where you have your own catchment systems for your drinking water and irrigation and plumbing, they get it. But they get a lot more water over there. Over here, we need to go back and terrace. After the sugarcane was gone, they plowed everything flat. And now it's a racetrack. When a drop of water hits up above the dirt line, it's a race to the ocean. And I live in that mud hole. I had 2 vehicles that got damaged in the last Kihei flood. I'm like, come on, people. It's simple. If you talk to anybody that works for U.S. Forest Service, you talk to anybody that works for...
So you're a guy that has experience. Why aren't they hearing you?
Well, I finally made it. I'm going to go to the next Kihei meeting. I haven't been doing that. I've been taking care of my own health issues. So,
What I really mean is, and I'm not picking on you, because just speaking on this show, this is going out to millions of people.
Billions, Jason, billions.
The fact is, you can share these. They're up on MauiNeutralZone.com. They all live on YouTube. Someday when I die, if they turn off my accounts, we're going to lose. So we have to support archive.org and someone that exists. But
it does.
But now, what good is archiving all this stuff if we don't do anything about it?
Yeah.
I'm so tired of talking about things for 35 years. I came to Maui with experience. And I had I'm allowed to say balls. I had my balls cut off by the political machine that cut me off at the Visitors Bureau in 19... You're allowed to say balls. It could be a basketball.
Yeah.
Cut off because the media... Why is the media not covering this show? Well, maybe...
Follow the money, Jason.
Next time you're on, if not before, we're going to pick up the bat phone, or I guess that one.
I have a friend on the...
We're going to call the mayor and invite him publicly, because people say, well, why did you have the mayor on? How come the mayor isn't on? Well, we're going to have Gabe Johnson on, and I'm happy. Gabe Johnson, one of our council people. Never mind, he was one of two only that voted against the Olowalu site, even as a temporary dumping site. You know, I love and trust that all the people in the world are going to, at some point, realize that their number one travel destination, Maui, has been threatened because
they
they're
know
not
it.
taking... So what are we doing? We're killing the golden goose here.
There are so many difficult, complex questions.
Well, that one's pretty big.
It is, and there's money involved in that. And whenever money talks and money moves and money gets people elected, you know that, Jason.
No, but I'm afraid that that's not enough.
It's not enough.
That is not enough.
No, we're seeing elections. We're seeing elections. Look at that. There was this really powerful candidate over in Russia who looked like he was going to threaten Putin in the next election. You know what they did?
Jailed him or killed him.
No, they wouldn't let him get on the ballot. My God, that must not be a democracy over there.
I love Scott is so sneaky. That was sneaky. You talking about sneaky Trump?
No, I'm still a Bobby Kennedy man. You know that.
Oh,
you know that.
You see that? See that? But I think that Trump is. I loved in Nevada, Nikki Haley lost to
other. Oh my God, that had to hurt.
2-1 other.
Oh, I know.
That had to hurt.
Yeah.
You know, we stay on Maui because we got enough controversy to never look at anyone else. That thing about, why are you picking on someone else and trying to put a stick in their eye? That was biblical.
Yeah.
When you didn't take that thing.
Pull that 2x4 out of your brain. There you go.
Well, I'm afraid that I'm having fun with this, but you know what is most fun? That no matter how we look at this, we're right. And we're going to go after the world. And sadly, I like Rick Bisson. He seems like a guy who plays a really mean ukulele.
Yeah.
And his singing. And he was a judge for many years and a chief prosecutor. You know, we don't want to get into the muck and mire of what's gone on here in government because as a reporter, people come to me with stories that will knock your socks right off, involving people that you already know, and many of you love and support. I'll just bring up, I'm afraid to bring up names.
We won't talk about those Jason stories.
Because I don't want to be in any cane fields. That means, sincerely.
That was a thing.
There are people.
That was a thing.
There have been people nominated that have. It's very scary because there are real people who have real life stories that are still alive, like your guy who's been living around for years. A lot of people have been living here for years and remember personally, firsthand, experiences with some of the people that now are in power. I've heard many people that were already put in jail by Rick Bisson said they really thought he was a very fair judge.
I work over at they renamed the jail, but I work over at they did. It's the Hawaii Correctional and Rehabilitation Center. I think is the new name.
I liked MCCCCC.
Yeah. They're taking on a new mantra, and they're going to try to do a lot more rehab work. I'm working on a presentation for them.
That takes a lot of staff, yes?
No.
So it doesn't take a lot of staff.
It takes the staff they have to take a new look at how they're running the facility. They got good people. I mean, I take my hat off. They have people over there working sometimes 70, 80 hours a week. I don't know how they do it.
Why?
Because they can't get people that want to work.
Now that seems impossible.
It's not unless you've worked inside a correctional facility, like I have. It's a culture unto itself, and some people have such a stigma to that they're afraid to do that kind of work. Which once you get into that kind of work, you're going like, it's like going to work, and it's like when I tell the guys that are in there, because we work on all kinds of skills. I says, well, on your resume, you just say, well, I live in a gated community for the last 20 years.
A gated community.
And try to make the best of that, because, we're getting out after 20, 30, 40 years, some of them, and re-entering. And it's like, I think I was lucky because when I was working in that field, mostly I was in Oregon, which has some of the best correctional programs in the country. They actually, quite a few places go there to see how they do their in-house rehabilitation. They do their in-house group meetings, things like that. So the guys have an opportunity to share, and there again, the culture. If you've got which I've had guys that have a lot of affiliations outside of the island, and they sometimes intimidate. And so I have known, my feeling over the last years is the guys that are from here, live here, and grew up here are some of the greatest people I have met that have just gotten off track. But I've also heard of those same cane field stories that you speak of, that if the island will take care of itself. I think we saw that right after the fire. People wanted to take care of Maui. Get the heck out of my way. We can handle it. And then all of a sudden we have this deluge of all these people, from well-meaning people. I'm not saying they're not. And I'm just like, if that happened and there were no federal government involvement, where would we be today? Would we already be rebuilding? Would things gotten handled more quickly? Those are questions that those are things to ponder 20 years from now.
Well, you mean all the dead people would ponder? Shouldn't we learn when we see toxic burn that we shouldn't be moving back on? We can't be this isolated, and then we get help from other places, but we don't listen to the advice from other places?
No, I'm not saying that, Jason.
No,
I
know.
But we.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that the people here are smart enough.
And smart.
Are smart, and they will figure it out. Yeah. And if you get out of their way, I have a couple of people I know that lost their homes, that their insurance company's not paying because they said that FEMA's supposed to pay, and now nobody's paying, and they're sitting there going like, "What the hell?"
Is that right?
Excuse me. Yeah. So when you create
So what do they do? What are they doing?
They're frustrated. They're angry. They want to go in and just take a shovel and a wheelbarrow and get it going. They're hurting. They're hurting very badly, and they want it to happen. And I think I want to believe the best of everyone that's trying to do this, that they want to get those people safely back on their ground as fast as they can, and maybe they're doing that. I don't know, but there's a lot of pain out there.
Yeah, but when you say safely, I know you kind of discounted the fact that this Department of Health, it's worth hearing the words and hearing him say, well, let me tell you a story. If you have one thing, if you have two bad things, you get that combination, this combination. If you have three bad things, that, now you're at 7. You have 4, now you're at 10,000. You had 5. You get into the trillions, and the if you know that you're going to put people back on land.
Well, you talked about the PVC. Okay, you talked about that. Okay.
Yeah.
We burned 500, 800 miles of that every time we burned the fields for the last 35, 40 years, and nobody said a thing about it.
Well, again, we're saying it.
Yeah, now you're saying it.
Now we're saying it, and we're saying it in a concentrated burn that's way more than 500 to 800 miles. But besides that, I'm no way discounting the fact that we want to help the people there to be going back to a safe place. Not at all.
And I think Mayor Bisson and I think the folks And it's God forbid you ever see me getting on board with any government agency. That's just not who I am. But I hope that they're doing the best they can with what they have to work with. And I know they're trying to balance this, but
balance it with what?
They're trying to expedient and also be safe and also deal with the toxins. And I think they probably, one guy said, well, I can get it done in a week. Another guy said, I can get it done in 6 years. And then somewhere they met in the middle. And it's the way government works is so frustrating. And then they get a bid from one, they get a bid from another. And they're weighing all these options. And maybe the best is, I honestly think what I read and what I listened to about what your fellow talked about on-site, that's brilliant. I mean, but where are we at? Can we do that tomorrow?
Yes.
Can we do? Okay, that was my takeaway from what I listened to from your show.
Well,
we could do that tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, and they could do that individually.
And because of the fact that you can do it in stages, this money issue doesn't become as much of a money issue.
Where is all that money?
Well, again, I'm trying to tell you. You wonder about the government and how they're doing it. They haven't really been listening, or if they've been listening, they are not listening well.
Are they accounting for all these spendings? I mean, I don't
sure
know.
They are.
I don't. They must be.
I'm sure, but you know the I like what's her name, Kaio Martin said.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was very funny. Follow the money. Or somebody else said, follow the money. Who gets paid from these jobs? I don't think that these people that are getting paid for these jobs think about that. I don't think they're running the show. And maybe it's their bosses and their bosses and who can. Maybe all that stuff exists. But the bottom line is, to me, the bottom line is, we shouldn't be sending people back into a toxic wasteland because they want to identify their property and everything around is not being handled except onesies and twosies.
Did you know if they were questioned, Jason, of what was on their property?
Doesn't matter.
I'm just curious. I'm going to ask a couple people next week.
Please do. You see, that's why Scott is a reporter in the field, because people come at me, but I know they know me too well, so they come at me with loaded things.
Yeah.
It's like people come at me with solutions. And I don't have the level of digging, but you do.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if I owned a property, or if I had a home over there and everything, myself, I would have a very good accounting of everything I have there, because that's just the way the world and insurance companies work. Yeah, and I lived on my ranch for 15 years, which was in a high danger zone for forest fire.
Back in New Mexico.
Back in New Mexico on the Caldera. Beautiful. And I learned from people who did lose property that you have to have an absolute accounting of everything. And if it were copper pipe in every one of those houses, and that was pretty generally used, and then they did. It's just they don't even know. And this is what I'm also hearing from local people. It's like, well, the insurance company said that now I can only have a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house on my property, and we had 4 families living there because we had lived there for the last 150 years and added on and added on and added on before anybody was paying attention.
No, good. Again, Rhino will not be built back the same.
Absolutely not.
And all those situations that had a lot of people living inside, little tiny little things that were broken into little tiny little. Yeah. I lived, my most memorable times were lived when I lived at 1414 Front Street, 88, 89. Yeah. Back when, there was a little shower
you could stumble home.
And then the owner decided, I can take that shower in the back that they share with the back little bedroom, and I can build another unit back there. And then I can put another one over here.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of little cubby holes.
And a lot of those were built before we were born.
Yeah.
A lot of those. And they never really kept track of all that. A lot of that was stick built. It was post and mortar built, which in a wildfire situation is just like lighting a match, because you've got air under the house for air conditioning, pest control, everything else. A lot of old Lahaina.
So now you're going to move these people that want those places back in the way they want them.
There's the pain that I'm hearing.
Oh yeah.
That's huge pain.
Imagine if you were in Gaza, or if you were in Israel, or in Syria, or in Ukraine. I mean, We don't have to.
We can't even take care of our. We can't even take care of Lahaina.
Now that there are things going on where hundreds of people die in a fire,
Yeah.
I mean, is that discounting what happened to Lahaina? You hear around the world huge fires that kill many people.
Oh, yeah, Africa.
Many.
There's more people dying in wars in Africa and fire than anywhere else in the world, and we never even read about it.
You never even hear about it.
No, there's no money involved.
What do they do for cleanup?
They take care of their own.
Oh, yeah, and then they die, and then we create our nice medical system.
It's interesting, well, we won't go down that road.
No, but
yeah,
these roads
I get it.
I mean, if I start on medical system, I could park this issue we're talking
Hey,
here.
what are we doing? We're doing okay for time. We got 10 minutes.
Well, how about this one? Over this weekend, I ended up calling 911 and having ambulance come out. I live in a senior facility.
Oh, okay. I figured you just ran out of gin.
My neighbor was screaming, "Help, help, help, help." No, I didn't hear it because I wasn't listening for it and I wasn't home. But I get home and people say, "He's right next door to you. Why don't you?" And so I go by and I said, "You need help?" "Yes." "Is it medical?" "Yes." He wanted me to help. Well, I can't help because the rules don't allow me to help, or I'll have a problem. So I called one of his caregivers. She says, "Call 911." That's what I did 2 weeks ago. They came and they pumped his stomach because he tried to kill himself with alcohol and pills. So they have a history of someone who's trying to kill himself with alcohol and pills. He's calling for help, help, help. They send another emergency. The emergency, they come in. The next day, I end up calling 911 again. And when they come, they call me afterwards and they say, "Well, we couldn't. He didn't want to leave the property. His rights. We can't take him off the property." So he's putting everybody in the place, inconvenience, at jeopardy. Today, he doesn't want his caregiver to do the laundry. He's going to burn it on his balcony.
Yeah.
No, I'm just talking to you. So now, where are the providers? Where are the facilities? Where are the people that are protecting anybody that...
We closed them all.
So what do?
We closed down all the state mental health facilities across the country.
So we do have people in charge. Don't they need to
They became unpopular. You know, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
Right after that period, and I did some a training in actually that facility later when it was turned into something different. But we don't have any state mental health facilities like we used to. The hospitals had to pick up the slack on that.
Well, in the hospital, I have another person who needs a place to live, can't find it.
Yeah.
And I went to the hospital to say goodbye because they gave her 3 days. If she doesn't move out in 3 days, they're going to bring her to a shelter. She's been looking for a place. She's been in the hospital since early November, and I never heard of a level 0 patient. What does that mean? That means that this person is so much trouble that we have a constant problem with them.
Which
when
used to be picked up.
Their bed, the power was pulled out of the wall on their bed and their communication. I thought that was pretty crazy until I spoke to the nurse and the supervisor. This person is constantly in constant turmoil with the staff. They have nowhere to do it, so it's a different place. Same problem as
we closed all those facilities. We closed them all.
So what do we do now?
I think we really need to reevaluate the whole thing.
Who's we?
The island on its. I mean, island.
Who's going to pay for it? Someone's got to be in charge. Is it the mayor? Yeah, sort of, kind of.
I mean, we voted. We voted everyone in. We made the decision by either voting for or against something.
But we also are not wanting to spend the money it takes. What about these very wealthy people when they're giving money to? When you give $250 million or $100 million or to a place like Catholic Charities of Hawaii or Maui Family Life Center, and they can only spend it in certain ways, the needs are here, and before they're building some nice long-term facility, there's emergencies that have to be addressed.
Right.
And that's a really tough thing.
That's
$250 million, but you can't spend it on helping people now because there are strings attached. You have to build permanent structures.
I know people that work for those, and they're doing some really good stuff.
Yeah, but you can imagine they're also hampered.
Yeah. There's money to help people pay for rent, but there's no place for them to rent.
And your news is not new news.
No, it's not, and it's not news for the last 55 years, so we are not getting anywhere.
Look up there and see if that says 9 minutes or 3 minutes.
I am showing 11:50. My neck doesn't work, Jason. It's
okay, well then don't look. I think it says 9.
I see 11:53 on my watch.
Okay, so I'm going to keep talking until they come in and say, "Hey, Jason, you got 3 minutes, buddy."
Oh, yeah. They should get a gong for you, just gong you. There
Well,
you go.
I mean, I really, sincerely, I had 2 minutes, 52 seconds. See, I could see certain things.
Wow.
We have 3 minutes. Scott's
Jason has selective hearing, too. He told me about that earlier today.
Oh, yeah. They checked my hearing, and my hearing, the area in my ear that I can't hear well is the range of a woman's voice. So I'm perfect for my partner because I don't hear what she says, and she has no problem with me because I don't hear anything. I hear nothing. I see nothing.
Yeah, I see. Okay, Schultz. Schultz.
You guys maybe
Schultz.
remember,
We'll call you Schultz.
You remember what
Schwartz
show that was
Schultz.
From?
There
What
you
show
go.
is that from?
Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes. If young people don't look it up, you got to look it up.
Yeah.
Now, you're sitting here. We have 2 minutes. I want you to know, next week we're not here. It's the 19th. But you can look at MauiNeutralZone.com and see this show. Then you can go back one more show and see me talk an hour about Olowalu. And then you go back another show and you see Eddie Garcia and Lico Martin on here talking about Olowalu. When we come back, we're going to have more people talking about Olowalu. Until we stop this, or we have an environmental attorney who's stopped this, I'm going to be talking about this. And
we have Bobby Kennedy, the world's most famous
but he's not
environmental attorney.
Not on it.
He's an
Yeah, look, the mayor puts out a little thing that says Maui toxic controversy, and all they talk about is justifying why they're doing what they're doing, bringing up none of the negatives, and that's supposed to be their PR about the controversy and what.
I think I figured it out the other day, Jason. We're all on this bus. Everybody's been sleeping in the back seat, and they finally woke up and went, "Who's driving? And where are we going?" We're not getting where I wanted to go.
Remember those guys years ago? Fireside chat.
We love those firesides. Yeah.
We're all bozos on this bus. Now we're going to have to say we're all Bezos on this bus because Jeff Bezos needs to get involved more directly. In fact, Jeff, if you come over with Lauren, you're welcome to come visit. You can sit here if you want, or we can do a show anywhere you'd like.
If you just want to talk to me, I'll talk to you too.
Yeah.
Here.
We only have 30 seconds. So, Scott R. Bushnell, it's been good to have you.
Aloha.
Everyone, it's always good to have you. I hope that you will share this show as broadly and widely as you can and realize that 21 seconds, I bet we're going to be short because of that original long commercial. So I could extend it, but we can cut it off at the right time, and we'll put it all together in the mix. Thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you again in 2 weeks. It's always a pleasure. We're at the Neutral Zone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Now please be involved. Blessings, everyone.